Hey techies, welcome to Elephant Code. If you're new to the channel, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. You're watching a video from the PySpark playlist. So let's begin.
So welcome back. In the last video, we have seen how to create a kind of schema with the help of struct type and then add it to the data frame. I mean, while creating the data frame, we can add those schema. So it will get binded to the data frame which is being created. So, but today in this video, what we will be doing, we will try to create a nested schema, which means that we'll be creating a schema inside the schema. So a main schema will be calling other inner schema inside the main schema, and that main schema will get binded to the data frame. Okay, so this is how we will be doing in our session today. So there are basically four steps which need to be performed to do this. See, the first step is like first you need to create the structure or kind of schema for the innermost structure. Then you need to create the schema for the outermost structure, and then you use the outermost schema while creating the Spark data frame, and thereafter you can work on your data frame. Okay, so these are the four steps which need to be performed to create a kind of nested schema in PySpark. So let me go to the practical part. So, so here we have already seen how we can create the schema. So we had this, create data frame with schema, and we had this data, and we had this schema, and then we were trying to bind the schema to the data frame while creating the data frame. Okay, so what we will be doing, we will be modifying this program to create a kind of nested schema. So let me do one thing. Let me take a new Python file. Um, I'll name it as nested adding nested schema to PySpark data frame. Okay, so I've added this. Let me copy paste some of the code from here so that we should not be writing these code. Okay, uh, so this is my file. Okay, so let me minimize this now. Okay, so now what we will be doing, we will be creating a kind of data which will be holding some nested information. So let us take an example of address. So like you have this ID, you have the first name, last name, and then we might be having some address. So address, for this address, I can say that what is the permanent city where you are living. Let's say if it is Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad, and your maybe current city would be Mumbai. Okay, same way for the second record, we can set up the uh, current city could be permanent city could be Ahmedabad, and the current location could be Pune. Third would be uh, um, Delhi as permanent, and then the temporary would be like Mumbai or Pune maybe. Okay, so now we have this data which is consisting of ID, first name, last name, and then permanent city and current city. So here you can see that this data is nothing but a kind of nested data. Okay, so while we are trying to define a schema for this set of record, we also need to create a kind of nested schema. Okay, so to create a nested schema, what we can do first, we will I mean the step tells that first we need to create a innermost structure type or an innermost schema. Okay, so what we will do, self dot inner schema equal to, okay, struct type, then I'll say um, th this. Okay, here I will say struct field. I'll say permanent at permanent city. Okay, and I'll say that this is nothing but of string type. Okay, and I'm allowing you to keep null. Okay, so this is going to be my innermost schema. Okay, now so I'm concerned about the innermost schema. So I have two field in the innermost schema, the permanent city and the current city. Okay, so I'll create the schema for the current city as well. So I'll say that it is current city and it is of string data type, and then I'm allowing you to keep null as well. Okay, now this is done. Now what we will be doing, we will be creating the outermost schema. So I can use the previous code to create the outermost schema. So I can give it like ID, first name, last name, and then this could be address. Okay, so instead of marks, it is address. Okay, so here what I will be doing, instead of giving the data type here, I will be calling this inner schema. Okay, so I'll just erase this one and keep self dot inner schema. Okay, so this is how you need to do it. Then in the so this is my main schema, so let me name it like that, main schema. Okay, now here we are writing one method, get data frame from schema. So here we are trying to create the data frame using the data and the schema. So now I will be calling the main schema here. Okay, so here is my data, which is nothing but a kind of nested data where the address is nested field. Okay, now we created the first schema for the address field, which is consisting of two subfield, current address, current city, and permanent city. And then we call this nested, nested struct type of schema in the main schema. Okay, and then we use this main schema while creating the data frame. Okay, so this is my program. Now I just need to write the main. So let me get this as well. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I created a object and thereafter I'm calling this particular method. Okay, so this method will be taking the data from this instance variable and schema from this. Okay, self.main schema, and then it will show the data, and thereafter we are trying to print out the schema structure as well. Okay, so let us run this program. So this is quite simple. I mean, you just need to take care that the innermost schema is something which you need to define as your first step. And then if you have multiple inner schema, then you need to define the lowest granularity first, and thereafter this second lowest, third lowest, and then finally the main one. Okay. So here you can see, look, I mean the data frame is already created, and this is what the data is: ID, first name, last name, and address. Address consisting of two different values, the current address and the permanent city and the current city. Okay. And here if you see the schema structure, because we have already printed the print schema as well, so the schema structure would be ID, first name, last name, address. Address is of struct type. Okay, now that struct type consisting of two different field, permanent city, current city. Permanent city is of string type and current city is of string type again. So this is how you need to create a kind of nested schema. So just for the revision, I can just tell you that what we have done, we have created one class. Inside the class constructor, we define one the set of data. Okay, and then we define while defining the data, we have defined a in a kind of nested data where the address field is of consisting of two different field. So accordingly, what we have done, since this is the nested one, so first we created the schema for the nested data, nothing but the address field. Okay, so the address field consisting of permanent city and current city. So we created a nested innermost schema, and thereafter we created a outermost schema, and where we define all other column, and for the address we define the data type as the inner schema. Okay, so it is taking the data type as inner schema. And then what we did, we created a method, okay, which is helping us to create the Spark data frame using the defined data and defined main schema. Okay, then we call this method in the main function, and we have our data frame created, and then data frame is showing the data along with its along with its schema. Okay, so that's all for today. And now it's time for the quiz.
Elephant quiz of the day. What is the purpose of using nested struct type in PySpark schema? Option A, to define a single data type for all columns. Option B, to handle complex and nested data structures. Option C, to optimize data storage in data frames. And option D, to improve data processing speed. Mention your answer in the comment section below. So that is it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe Elephant Code for future updates.